¿Qué onda, mi gente? Today we're going to talk about Quechua and the influence that it has had on Spanish. So for those that don't know, let's talk about what is Quechua. So Quechua is an indigenous language spoken in Peru, Ecuador, up in the Andes Mountains. It's an indigenous language that was the original language of the Incan Empire. This is what they spoke in and what they still speak in those areas today. It's, was the language they spoke back when the Spaniards came and colonized the area. Right? And so Quechua, just like Nahuatl, through the Spanish contact with the Aztec Empire, has had a bunch of influence on, specifically in Spanish, food, words, and animals, for the most part, but other things as well. And in fact, Quechua is still spoken by a huge portion of, specifically Peru. I know I've been to Cusco, and in Cusco, it really shocked me because they use the word vosotros, which for people who study Spanish, vosotros only crops up in Spain, right? And so that kind of threw me for a loop for a second, and I really thought about it. I was like, actually, that probably kind of makes sense because in Cusco, a lot of the people from there still speak Quechua even to this day. It's like their home language. They speak it at home, they speak it with family, they speak it with friends. And when you're walking through the streets of Cusco, you won't really hear Spanish when they're talking amongst themselves. In a lot of cases, they'll use it with tourists, they'll use it with people from outside of Cusco. But like when Cusqueños are talking to each other, they tend to use Quechua. And so for me, it made sense because they're probably studying in school, and that's why they use vosotros. But now that we've talked about what Quechua is, let's get into some of the more popular words that have been taken into Spanish. Now, as opposed to Nahuatl, which has left a lot of words that are used all over Latin America, all over even into Spain, Quechua more had influence in the Spanish of the South. Now, there are some words like alpaca or poncho, which were taken from Quechua and have since been adapted into Spanish. Like alpaca obviously is the animal, and then a poncho is obviously like a pine. But there are other words that you find in South America that you won't find in Central America or even in Colombia and Venezuela. And those words include things like chacra. A chacra is a word for a farm. I learned this word originally. I was in Argentina traveling from Bariloche up to Neuquén. I went hitchhiking and some man picked me up and we went and we got to talking about this and I learned this word. There, I thought it was specifically like an orchard more than a farm. But then as I was researching for this video, I realized that it's used just in general for like a farm. Similar to like the word hacienda maybe in Mexico, but I don't think to that extent. Also from Quechua is the drink of mate. The drink of mate comes from Quechua. That drink is drank all over the place. Argentina, I've seen it in Chile, I've seen it in Uruguay. You also get one of the words that changes the most, which is the word for beans, right? In the like Caribbean islands specifically, and you hear this word sometimes in Spain, you get the word habichuela. And then you get frijol or frijoles, you hear in most of Central America, in Spain, you see it also in Colombia, Venezuela, right? And then in the south, from Peru below, so Peru, Chile, Argentina, you get the word of poroto, poroto being beans of some kind. Then we also get the word pucho, which I'd never heard this word, but I do remember hearing it in Chile. Pucho, pucha. Pucho is like a cigarette, right? Instead of cigarro. It actually comes from Taino, which is an indigenous group that lived in the islands, Caribbean, Puerto Rico. We get the word guagua, which the word guagua actually exists in a couple of different countries. In South America, guagua means baby. And then in the Dominican Republic, and I don't know where the influence of this comes from, guagua means bus. There's a famous song by Bad Bunny that talks about how se quedó el olor de tu perfume en el guagua. Something like that. Or en el guagua se quedó el olor a tu perfume. I think that's the actual lyric. But the smell of your perfume remained in the bus, essentially what it's saying. And then the last word we get is another word just like habichuela, frijol, and poroto that changes quite a lot, which is aguacate. And then in South America, they use the word palta, right? They don't use aguacate, and they use palta because it's a Quechua word. And so that Quechua influence has affected the word choice they use. So instead of hearing aguacate down south, you'll most of the time hear palta. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that stuff. If you want to practice with some of what we just discussed today in this video, or leave comments, thoughts, opinions, do so down in the comments. I will get back to you. And if you want to learn about upcoming group classes or private classes, you can reach out via WhatsApp or email, and I will get you more information on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next class.